So let's say you don't have a fish finder. That's okay, you got them right here. These are flunes, okay? These birds right here eat small bait fish. When they're congregated like this, a lot of times I'll come by and I'll notice in my graph that there's a lot of bait fish out here. Another bird you want to watch for is a heron. These herons get up on the bank lines. When they put their feet in the water and they're looking down, there's bait fish there. If there's bait fish, there's bass. Watch also a lot of lakes, like this lake's not super far from the ocean, so some of the pelicans, some of the seagulls will come in here, and when the bass come up to eat, they'll just come in and start diving and eating those bait fish. I had to actually stop topwater fishing this morning because they'll dive down and take the topwater bait. I got to reel them in and get them off that thing, and they'll bite you like heck. But keep an eye on what you see. Birds, anything like that that's going to eat the same thing as a bass, you might want to stop and investigate that area. Hi everybody, welcome to DRW Bass Fishing. My name's Dalton. I had geared up to go to an entirely different lake today. I live in California, and in California they have these little mussels that get in the water, so your boat has to be inspected. I called ahead before going. I called yesterday, and I had planned on going there, but they don't do their inspections until Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I came back out here to Lake Nacimiento here in California, and because I'm already tagged here. I did the same starting lineup idea that I did on my last video. Always have a starting lineup, always have something ready, okay? Let me go over what I did. This morning, I noticed some birds. There were some seagulls diving in the water, and there were a bunch of fish coming up and eating on the top. Now I knew these were white bass. This lake has a lot of white bass. What I wanted to do was go after the white bass in hopes that the spotted and largemouth bass were running with them. They weren't. But I had a lot of fun catching those white bass. I used, this morning for topwater, I just used the whopper plopper 130. I used a bright yellow, and it worked just fine. I ran it on a 30-pound braid, a 7-foot medium heavy rod, a 7:5 to 1 gear ratio, and caught quite a few of them on this. I had to actually stop using this because the seagulls will come down and try to get your topwater. I've had that happen before. You got to pull them in, and you have to get the hook out, and they'll bite the heck out of you. So what I did was I had 2 crankbaits ready to throw. The first one is the Rapala DT10. It goes about 10 feet down. I'm throwing it on 12-pound test, fluorocarbon. I've got a 610 rod and a 6/8 to 1 gear ratio bait caster. This proved to be very effective catching the white bass. Again, I'm looking for the spotted bass, but I'm catching white bass. They're still fun. I got a little bit deeper, and I went with a deeper crankbait. This is a Jenko, and I'll have in the description the exact one. But this goes about 18 to 20 feet. It's a big crankbait. I'm running it on actually 10-pound test braid. This braid is really thin, like 4-pound test diameter. No problem. It gets this bait down there. Braid is strong, cast it a long ways. And what I found, at least with these white bass, is that the bigger bait I used here, the bigger the white bass were. That made it kind of fun. Now I tied on a drop shot, and they were short striking that drop shot. I wasn't getting them hooked, so I switched to a Ned rig type bait. Now this is not a Ned rig in the traditional sense, but I am using the Z-Man Shroom jig head. This right here is a Roboworm, okay? I took this Roboworm. This is, let me see what the color of this is. Okay, this Roboworm is Aaron's Magic. And what I did was I took my scissors, cut off about 1/4 of an inch, and I used this very similar to that of a regular Ned rig, but what's nice is I had a little more of a wiggly tail, and I didn't get any big ones on this, but they couldn't leave it alone. I caught a bunch of bass on this. I missed it and he came back for it. Now to kind of wrap up what I tied on, every bass fisherman has a confidence bait. Something that they feel like every time they throw it they're going to catch a bass. For me, one of my big time confidence baits is a tube. I love fishing a tube. I can throw it deep, shallow, around cover. One of the ways I was using it today, I mean this thing is all torn up, look at it, but one of the ways I was using it today was I was just popping it over the top of rocks. I was catching them that way. And then when I saw little points or little twigs sticking up out of the water, I'd throw it over there and caught a pretty nice one this morning on this. Pretty respectable bass out here. This is a nice bass right here. This is a good 3.5 pound spotted bass. Absolutely nothing to be ashamed of there. Wow, look at the belly on that thing. This guy's eating really good. Now, got him on that tube again. Strike King coffee tube. Watermelon flake right over there in that corner. I'm bleeding, but he hit it right on the way down. Every once in a while you take a hook when you're fishing. If you haven't fished with a tube, you know, I've got a couple of videos on how to rig this. This is a Strike King coffee tube. This one's watermelon red color. And you notice the appendages are all torn up, but the reason I like these appendages so much is they're very flexible. So when you're working this thing on the bottom, it kind of flares and it gets the bass attention. And believe me, I've caught so many bass out here in this reservoir fishing a tube. If you're not fishing a tube, I suggest you do. A lot of people will take the little bitty tubes and fish them. Those work good. I like these 3.5 inch tubes. They tend to produce a little bit better bite a lot of times, and they work real well. So once again, have your starting lineup, tie some baits on before you even get to the lake, and out of the 5 rods that I tied up on this morning, or yesterday before I came out here, 4 of those baits caught me fish. Only 1 did I have to switch out. Know your lake. Get to know your lake as best as you can. If you're going to a new lake, get on the internet, try to find out as much as you can about it. Watch what your weather's going to be. Today, this is just pure heat, and it's hot out here. But just because it's summer and hot, the fish don't stop biting. Well, I hope this video helps. I sure enjoy doing this. If you like it, please hit the like and the subscription button. I'd sure appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good day. I'll talk to you soon.